Hello my fellow Dragon Slayers, this is Kato. This is part 4 of the quest for Daedric artifacts. Those who do not want spoilers, I recommend watching the first part of the quest and then continuing from there. My intent is not to ruin anything for you, it's just to help you out. In this series I will also be covering the multiple paths, if the quests have them, in case you hadn't taken them before and you would prefer that path later on. The quests I will be covering today are The Only Cure, A Night to Remember, and Discerning the Transmundane. Those quests are for Peryite, Sanguine, and Hermaeus Mora. Now that the intro's out of the way, let's begin. We start with the quest The Only Cure for Peryite. He is also called the Taskmaster, and represents order and pestilence. So you can start this quest in a couple ways. If you're able to find an afflicted refugee around level 10, either wandering the roads or in front of Markarth, you can indeed start it at level 10. If you find Peryite Shrine, and wait till level 12, you can just start it from there. Kesh seems to be the only follower at Peryite Shrine pretty much the whole time, but if you walk up and talk to him and you ask him how you would commune with Peryite, he sends you out to gather 4 ingredients for an incense. So to really get the quest moving, you need a flawless ruby, vampire dust, a silver ingot, and a deathbell flower. If you happen to be a pack rat like myself and store everything you gather in your house, it should be relatively easy to get all these things. For those of you who do not, there is a silver mine a little ways east from Markarth, and that would probably take care of the flawless ruby and silver ingot. The deathbell flower and vampire dust are alchemy ingredients, so naturally if you do not have those you would want to check an alchemy shop. If you bring the ingredients to Kesh, he will create the incense so you can commune with Peryite. Walk up to the ever so inviting incense and inhale deeply to begin your dialogue with Peryite. The way the story goes is Peryite sent a wasting plague to several Breton villages and sent his monk Orchendor to go and gather all of the villagers and bring them back to Bethardums, which is a Dwemer ruin. Orchendor had since betrayed Peryite and is now serving his own ends in Bethardums, so Peryite sends you to go kill him. Bethardums is northwest of Peryite Shrine. Like many other Dwemer ruins, it's large, has all kinds of traps, and you will face dwarven automatons as well as the afflicted. If it's your first time in Bethardums, I recommend turning off all of your other quest markers, because it will be rather confusing if you leave the other ones on. This dungeon has a central room which is connected by several other cells that you need to ascend to get to the final room. So you'll be ending up in the same room several times, whether you realize it or not. As long as you keep taking the ramps and stairs up, you should be able to find the Arcanex, and ultimately find Orchendor. As I mentioned earlier, you will be fighting the afflicted. They are physically weak but tend to hang out in groups, and they can also vomit on you, which gives you the adverse effect Vile Vapors. Now it doesn't last very long and doesn't do much damage on its own. However, as I said, they attack in groups, and Vile Vapors does stack, so be careful of that. There are several locations in this dungeon where you can use the environment to your advantage. There's some traps that the afflicted can set off themselves, or you can flip a switch and set it off while they're in the right position, adding some much needed entertainment to this dark dungeon. The Dwemer Guardians and the afflicted do not share the same faction, so you can actually draw a Dwemer sphere over to an afflicted refugee, and left to their own devices, they will attempt to kill each other. I'm not discounting the warrior types who like to be one-man armies, but sometimes a little more strategy is needed when you take on a different role, say either a magic user or a stealth character. Just before you reach the Arcanex, you will fight one Dwarven Centurion. There's many strategies to go at them with. I prefer range myself, and I will leave that up to you. I must warn you about the upcoming fight with Orchendor. This is another pretty well scripted boss fight. He has Vile Vapors just like all the rest of the afflicted, and every few seconds he teleports to a random location in the room that you're fighting in. Now before trial and erroring yourself to death, Orchendor is almost completely immune to all magic. So using shock, fire, and frost, even your best of spells, would probably end up being a waste of all of your magicka. Luckily he's not immune to conventional weapons and bound weapons. After defeating Orchendor to the back of the room, there is a chest and an elevator that takes you back up to the surface. After that ordeal, make your way back to Peryite Shrine, and take a whiff of that incense again to receive your reward.
His betrayal will be punished, and your obedience is rewarded. Order and hard truth, mortal. Goodbye.
In completing this quest, Peryite rewards you with the Spellbreaker. This shield projects a ward when you block, making this good for both mages and for warriors. A fitting reward for the hero of Skyrim. The next quest, A Night to Remember, is one of the more entertaining quests for the Daedric Prince Sanguine. He is the Prince of Debauchery and thrives on dark indulgences. This quest works a little different than all the other ones, and if certain skills are high enough, you have the ability to bypass certain parts of this quest. This quest can begin in just about any tavern anywhere, and a place we tend to visit a lot throughout the game is Whiterun, but the choice is ultimately yours. You'll be looking for a fellow in a black robe named Sanguine, who challenges you to a drinking contest. A hero needs fun once in a while too.
One down, my friend, one down. You know, you're a fun person to drink with. I know this great little place where the wine flows like water. We should head there. Hey, you don't look so good.
You black out after your contest with Sam. You're awakened by Senna, the priestess of Dibella, in Markarth of all places, calling you a blasphemer. Supposedly you threw some kind of party in this temple and proclaimed your love to someone and mentioned something about a goat. This is your first bypass option. You can either sweet talk or bribe your way forward in the quest, or you can be the nice guy and clean up your mess that you left to move on to your next objective. After you make it up to Senna one way or another, she says that even though most of your words were slurred, you had mentioned something about Rorikstead, making that town your next objective. Rorikstead is about midway between Whiterun and Markarth. Once you make it to Rorikstead, there is a farmer named Ennis, who is very upset at you. You seem to have found his farm in your drunken adventures, and proceeded to steal his goat, and sold it to a giant. And apparently this was a prize-winning goat that cannot be replaced. The thing I like about this quest is there is bypass choices for just about every part. So you can pay him back for the goat, or you can persuade him to let you off the hook, or you can go rescue Gletta from the giant. Now if you choose the latter, the giant is not far from town, it's a little ways south, and all you really have to do is activate Gletta, and she will follow you all the way back to the farm. But the fact that you were pretty much stealing the goat from the giant now means the giant will act hostile towards you. So be ready for a fight once you do that. Afterwards, return to Rorikstead to Ennis, and he will be overjoyed to hear that you brought him back his goat. He's still curious as to why you stole her in the first place, but he remembers that you left a note talking about Yzalda and paying her back for something. So now that this part is complete, head back to Whiterun and talk to Yzalda. She's usually in the market district. Lo and behold, another NPC that is upset with you. Yzalda gave you a wedding ring on credit to give to the quote-unquote love of your life. Now all the decisions are there still, but out of the goodness of your heart, why not go get the ring back for her? You decided to pop the question with your potential bride in Witchmist Grove. This is south of the Windhelm stables, and relatively easy to find. Oh dear, it seems you had proclaimed your love to a Hagraven. Man, you must have been really, really smashed. In order to receive the ring, you must kill Moira. I think the shame alone would motivate you to kill her. Loose ends and all that. Retrieve the ring from your ex-bride-to-be, and return to Yzalda in Whiterun. She's glad to have gotten the ring back, and sorry that you did not become happily married to a hag raven. Luckily, she doesn't know. She then says the ceremony was supposed to be held at Morvenskar, which is an old fort southwest of Windhelm. This is like any other dungeon until you get to the central chamber, and will be guarded by conjurers and mages, so be sure to bring your magic resist. When you clear the dungeon up to the main chamber, you will find a staircase that leads up to the chest and a throne. Now your quest marker is marking right to the right of that. And once you make it up there, a portal will appear to you. This portal will take you to a wonderful and beautiful place called the Misty Grove. With ingredients for the staff in hand, you valiantly approach where the ceremony was supposed to be held, to find many individuals drinking and being merry, as well as Sam.
Oh, the Hagraven feather and so on. You can throw all those out. You see, I really just needed something to encourage you to go out into the world and spread merriment. And you did just that. I haven't been so entertained in at least 100 years. Let's be honest here. I don't always think my decisions through. But you're going places. Maybe a little influence from your old Uncle Sanguine could help adjust your course a bit.
Yes, it turns out Sam Guivine and Sanguine were the same guy. He sends you back to the bar that you both met in with a new Daedric artifact called the Sanguine Rose. It's a simple-looking staff, but it summons a Dremora for 60 seconds. And for those of you who are magic users or need a distraction for your enemy, this is an ideal staff. Alright, sorry if you guys got a hangover from that quest, but we're gonna move on. Our next quest takes place in Septimus Cygnus' outpost. And if you had followed the main quest line, you would end up there anyways to find something. But regardless, you would have to find that item first in order to start this quest. Septimus's place is north of Winterhold, across the icy waters and in a cave. It was probably placed there on purpose so you wouldn't find it out of order. So you find out one way or another Septimus Signus is a Dwemer nerd. Recently. A large chunk of his life had been spent studying the Elder Scrolls, which doesn't even compare to the Dwemer. This has turned him into somewhat of a hermit, so he's really hard to understand, and sometimes he even speaks in riddles. So once you get through trying to comprehend what he's telling you, that giant Dwemer box behind him is something he was led to by Hermaeus Mora, and has been working to open ever since he found it. Due to the rules of convenience for the main character of this story, Septimus has finally found a breakthrough. The key to this box is Dwemer blood. Being the Dwemer died out a long time ago, that would be hard to reproduce. So instead, he said, you must synthesize all of the elven blood together. So High Elf, Wood Elf, Dark Elf, Orc, and Falmer all must be killed by your hand or found dead, and have the blood withdrawn from them with this nifty little gadget right here. On your way out of Septimus's outpost, your path will be blocked by the wretched Abyss.
I am Hermaeus Mora. I am the guardian of the unseen, and knower of the unknown.
I'm not sorry that I cut that off, because you're going to have to go through this horribly monotonous and drawn-out dialogue by Hermaeus Mora. So in a nutshell, Septimus Signus is Hermaeus Mora's champion. But he's getting old and decrepit, and pretty much only speaks in riddles. Hermaeus Mora says once that lockbox is opened, he will no longer need Septimus Signus's help. And after opening said box, you will ascend to become Hermaeus Mora's new champion. So you set off to find all of these samples of blood that you will need. According to the unofficial Elder Scrolls wiki, if you go to Dragonbridge and head south-southwest, you'll find a place called Liar's Retreat, which you can get all of your samples except for the High Elf blood, which for that you would only need to find a Thalmor patrol and kill them off. Return to Septimus Signus with all the samples, and he will proceed to inject himself with those samples in order to open the lockbox. Sadly, it is not a pile of riches. I'll let Septimus explain.
It's just a book. I can see. The world beyond burns in my mind. It's marvelous.
I hit a minor glitch at this part and had to kill off Septimus myself to continue the quest. But ultimately, Hermaeus Mora kills Septimus, allowing you to take the book. Make your way out and you will be contacted by Hermaeus Mora again. You are now his champion, and you have received the Oghma Infinium. This book is a one-time use, and will allow you to raise the Mage, Warrior, or Thief skill archetypes by 5 for each skill. I recommend using this on skills you plan on leveling but haven't yet, because if one of your main skills are maxed, you will not get your bonus. That was some quest set, wasn't it? So since this is episode 4, and if you have been following all of these, you now have a whopping 12 artifacts. Even though you do not have all of them yet, you now have more than enough to display in your trophy room. If you liked this video and found it useful, let me know in the comments, or at least tick that little thumbs up icon. The more attention I get from you guys, the more videos I'll start pumping out. If you have ideas on what to cover next, let me know that too. As always, best of luck on your future quests.